Hi everyone and welcome to this new video. As you saw it in the title, I spent a bit too much money on photo books in 24. So today I thought it was a good idea to present you some of the books that I bought last year through a top 7. This does not mean that the books were released in 24, simply that I bought them during that year. But before moving to our top 7, let me present you the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually want to present you my first printed project. It's a zine called Zurich Files Volume 1 Water, as you can see here. I've wrote it many times. The zine consists of images that I took while walking alongside bodies of water. So each image contains water, and there is also a certain narration around the theme of personal balance. You will find the zine on my website. There is also a digital version that's available for the price of a coffee if you want to support my work. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you are interested, I also wrote an article about how this zine came to life. The link is in the description. Now that I have presented my own work, let's look at the top 7 of the year, starting at the 7th place with Harry Gruyère, India. It was a bit difficult for me to know which book to present to you from Harry Gruyère, as I also bought Last Call, which is also a very strong book. In the end, I decided to present India to you because it was a gift from my wife. So the book's format is around A4, it's a hardcover, and it's quite comfortable to the touch because the back is in cloth, as you can see. I will be honest with you, out of the 130 images, some of them are a bit unequal, but most of the images are quite impressive, and it would be hard anyways to include only masterpieces in such a big book. So now let's look at some of the images. So the first image I wanted to show you is this image that he shot in the desert in Rajasthan. I found it quite interesting because we can see the silhouette of the camel. We can see also this red fabric on this person here. We don't really see any faces, but yet we still get an insight into those people's lives. Another image from this book that struck me is this one. We can also see some red in it that contrasts greatly with the bluish, greenish tint of the wall. I like it a lot, and I noticed that it's something that Harry Gruyère does quite a lot, is to put someone's face in the foreground at the middle of the image. And there are a lot of details that are interesting, like the girl playing with her eyes, this woman that's carrying things on her head, some kind of root vegetable, I guess, and this man that's in the frame looking like he's posing. So all in all, it creates a composition with many layers, which is always enjoyable. So another image that I liked a lot is this brownish grayish monochrome, which displays the Ganga River in Varanasi. It's quite interesting because it's a very minimal composition, and the sky is kind of melting with the river. We don't really see the boundary between both of those. This image here is also one that I found quite powerful. I like this image because it might not be the first image that comes to our mind when we think of India. We will most likely think of very busy cities instead of a nice lush forest. We can see that there is a komorebi, which always looks very nice in images. Just two kids, a gesture, some water lilies, and a strong composition. I liked it a lot. Now in this image, again, I like the fact that there is some characters in the foreground, which is something that Gruyère does quite a lot, as I said before. I like the fact that they are blurry, that way our attention goes quite fast on the silhouette of the elephants. And I also really enjoy the pink color that's in the back. As probably most of you knows, Harry Gruyère is a master of color, and it really shows in this book. We have one more evidence of it here, with this image in which the characters are all in white, and they are boxed in by the red at the top and the blue at the bottom. And here we have what might be the best image of the book, which is also the cover. Once again, we have this face of a kid in the foreground at the bottom that looks really nice, and it's the only face that we can perceive in the image. The colors are fantastic. Apart from that kid, we can say that the subject of this photo are the colors, which is a quality that is often present in Gruyère's work. All in all, I really liked this book, not only because of the great images that it contains, but also because of the texts that give a great insight about India. I can say that this book really made me want to travel there, and it's something I plan to do this year. You can already subscribe to see me complain about the heat, the constant honking, and of course, stomach issues. But let's not dream too much about traveling, and instead we can look at the 6th place of this ranking, not one but 2 books by Charalampos Kidonakis, also known as the Dirty Harry on Instagram, where he's quite known. I'm presenting both books directly because they are presented as twin books, Both of the books refer to Greek mythology, with Back to Nowhere referring to the Minotaur, as we can see with the maze on the cover, and World in Vain referring to the Argonauts. The layout is quite original because even though the book is a vertical format, you have to read it in landscape, as most of the images are landscapes. We'll now have a look at some of them. So as you can see here, we can see this sequencing that is not horizontal but vertical. For example, here with matching shapes with the head gesture of this animal and the gesture of the woman. So on each page, there is almost a diptych with two images that often really match together. Charalampos mentioned on his website that he spent a lot of time on the sequencing, and it really shows when you look at the book. This image, for example, is quite great. We go from fall to winter, and we also have a similar image due to the particles created here by the dust of those dead leaves and the snow. As you can see, there are also some visual jokes. I'm usually not a fan of them, but in this case, it matches with the vibe of the book, which is very dirty, as the name of its author implies. This is perhaps my two favorite images from the book. They match together so well with those hands raised at the sky as if they were imploring something, and it's probably a fence, but it looks very mystical in this image with the glow that is also present on both pictures. One thing that I forgot to say is that the images within the books are structured by chapters that follow the myth the book relates to. This is also something that I found quite original, as we don't find that very often in photo books, and it really gave the book a lot of, let's say, replay value, in the sense that you want to go through it again to really understand why a certain image is within a certain chapter. Back to Nowhere is set in Crete, in Greece, the island that Charalampos described as the only place that he will never have the chance to see with the eyes of a foreigner. Some images in this book that I found quite powerful include this one, in which we see free falling in water and just a bright light at the top with the green and the orange of the trees. I thought this image also on a color point of view looked very good. Those two images are also quite representative of his work. The sequencing is great. The two heads look like they got injured in that car accident. And the trashiness of those images are quite representative of the books, which include a lot of such images. Another example of Charalampos' great sequencing skills is this double page with the mustache of the guy on the below picture matching with whatever that thing is at the top. Overall, I absolutely love this book for two reasons. The first one is that I like the fact that the book is organized in chapters. It helps to structure the images and it offers a great replay value. The second reason why I like this project is that it felt refreshing to see street photography done differently. The images are dirtier and they are not the usual cliché street photography shot with a very clean aesthetic. And now, speaking of street photography done in a different way, let me present you the 5th place of this ranking, a book that was perhaps done by the most unknown photographer of the ranking, Kyosei Yoshike, in his book Salvage. Kyosei Yoshike is one of the emerging talents of the very active Japanese scene. I randomly found his work on Instagram. I was quite impressed by what I saw, so I decided to buy both his zine and his book. Both the book and the zine are bound and published by Kyosei himself, which gives them a very nice and personal touch. This book here is a hardcover. It has this silver embossment that not only makes it look like a nice object, but also matches very well with the images contained in the book. Speaking of the images, they are what Kyosei calls fragments of the city of Tokyo. Those fragments are details of urban landscape that are constantly changing as the city evolves. The style of the images is quite abstract. It's sometimes even hard to figure out what is being photographed. The images are resplendent thanks to vibrant colors and glowy reflections. And the way they are sequenced demonstrates a strong understanding of color theory. I love this book because it challenges the traditional notion of street photography. Overall, this project is really coherent because of the use of vibrant colors and the glowness, which really participates in transmitting the fast pace and the constant evolution of the city of Tokyo. For the 4th book of this ranking, we stay on the theme of Japan with the book Shinjuku Lost Child by the Korean photographer Sun Woo-yang. I purchased this book when I was in Paris and I visited Black Art Photo, the best Japanese photo bookstore in Europe. The book was published by Zen Photo, which is a publisher I need more books from because they constantly release good books. It is a soft cover and there is nothing special to say about it as an object, but the content compensates for this external sobriety. It features images taken between 1998 and 2006, in Kabukicho, a district of Shinjuku known at the time for its busy and sometimes dodgy nightlife. The name Shinjuku Lost Child comes from the fact that some children were living in this neighborhood, sometimes sleeping there alone, while waiting for their mother working as hostesses. Sung Woo Yang stated himself that he slept on a cardboard hut while shooting for this project as he was scared to miss moments to capture. The book goes beyond focusing only on Shinjuku's lost children and provides an in-depth experience of the dark side of Tokyo, including some yakuza, hostess bars, and police arrests. I absolutely love this book for its rawness, far from the preconceived idea of Japan one might have. It is a book that's very street photographic in its essence, but also has a certain social and documentary aspect to it. Before presenting you the podium of this ranking, let me remind you to subscribe, like the video, and even leave a comment if you liked it. This will help promote the video to a broader audience. So now let's get back to our ranking, with the third place being attributed to Tractor Boys by Martin Bogren. Many of you might be familiar with Bogren's work, and I really appreciated it when I saw it on the screen, so I was very eager to buy one of his books. I was very lucky to find this one as placard once again. It might be one of his most iconic books. I have since then purchased another one, but this one remains my favorite. It is quite a small book with around 60 pages. It was published by Dewey Lewis Publishing. I don't have the first edition, sadly. It's a nice object as well because it's cloth bound, which makes it also quite nice to handle. There is also a lot of attention to detail in this book. For example, when you open it, you are met with skid marks that set the theme of this book. The book focuses on a group of teenagers driving cars on a parking lot in rural Sweden. The boys drive their cars and try to impress the girls, and all of it is captured with a lot of subtlety by Martin's sensible eye. His images are quite vaporous and have a lot of texture thanks to the use of the grain. The sequencing of the book really helps us immerse ourselves with those youths. It starts with an image of a boy sleeping and ends with a similar image, which makes us feel like we participated to a day with this group of youngsters. We not only see the cars drifting, but also the romance that happens in those cars when those young adults are hiding from the rain. What I really liked in this book is that Bogren transmits us a certain boredness that those teenagers might be experimenting. When we read it, we feel like this day is repeating itself without an end. It made me want to buy more books from him, which I did by buying A Summer of 1,000 Years. But I'm now after Metropolia or Passenger, which are apparently also very strong books. Now we will stay on the theme of grainy black and white with our second place of the ranking that goes to Michael Ackerman's End Time City. After going through Harry Greer's India, I was very curious about how other photographers have represented this country in their books. I also had my eyes on Michael Ackerman as I really liked his style, so when I saw End Time City in a bookshop in Arles, I couldn't do anything else but buy it. So the one I got is the one published by Edition Xavier Barral, and it's enriched with many images, notably the ones of animals, compared to the original edition published by Robert Delpire in 1999. The book explores the city of Varanasi, which is known as being the spiritual capital of India, but also the place where many Hindus come to die or to cremate their loved ones. This city has been photographed many times, and it's a street photography mecca alongside cities such as New York, Paris, and Tokyo. The book's title refers to the fact, as I said before, that people come to Varanasi to die. But the book's content cannot be summarized by an exploration of death. It is rather a very personal depiction of the relationship Ackerman built with the city, a celebration of vitality that is high in contrast due to its ever-present gloominess. One of the reasons I like this book so much resides in the way Michael plays with the photobook medium. He does it by using panoramic images, square images, scanning film rolls directly, including frames to some images, and generally being very creative in the way he displays his work. It's one of my all-time favorite photo books, as I absolutely love the grittiness of the photos. They give the book a very dreamlike and sometimes even nightmarish feeling that I'm a big fan of. As if this whole existence is a dream and not the original state of the soul. An idea I want to explore is if Ackerman tried to represent the suffering of being stuck in the samsara, the state described by Hinduism consisting of rebirth and death without attaining a final liberation. Who knows if we will one day attain this final liberation? One thing I know though is that you should subscribe to my newsletter, as I plan on writing some articles about Michael Ackerman's books. One thing I know for sure is that we are reaching the end of this ranking, and some of you might have guessed which book is first. If you believe you have guessed it, please pause the video and write a comment with the name of the book that you imagine is first of my ranking. So you have written the comment, good, my video will be propulsed in the algorithm, I'm very happy. So on the first position of the ranking we have Monument by Trent Park. I had heard a lot of positive opinions about this book online, so I wanted to verify if it's overrated or if it's really a good book. Well, now I have my answer, it's excellent. There are many reasons for that, starting from the object itself. It's published by Stanley Barker. It contains around 300 pages. It's a huge book. It's, as his name indicated, it's a monument. The cover is made out of leather, which gives it a very nice touch. And it also has some cryptic embossments on it. You can see here as well some embossments. It's really a very nice object to start things. What we can also notice is the absence of any understandable writings on it. So there is no title, nothing. And on the inside there is some text in Braille that I cannot translate or decrypt. So it makes the whole book very cryptic and mysterious. The inside of the book is at the image of the outside. It's absolutely wonderful. It would be quite hard to summarize the content of the book. But if I had to do it, I would say that it pays homage to humankind through the illustration of its disintegration and the name of Monument. I will voluntarily not discuss the content of the book in a too detailed manner in this video, as I plan to do another video or a blog post about it. It's hard to isolate some images from the book, not because they are not excellent, but rather because they take a much more impactful meaning when seen as a whole. Let me still show you some images. Placing this book at the top of my ranking was an evidence. It is from now the best illustration of the power of the photographic medium that I have ever witnessed. It treats of a very serious matter, our own existence as a species that is gifted with consciousness. It is a very fundamental topic that is addressed in this book in a brilliant way. There's much more I could say about it. We can do an analysis of the composition of each image, we can do an analysis of the sequencing, and those are all things that I will keep for the next video or for the blog post. Now that I have talked about my favorite purchases of the year, I think it's important to explain why I believe it's crucial for a photographer to buy photo books, or at least to look at some of them. So the first reason to buy photo books would be to support the artists. If you like someone's work, there is nothing better you can do than show appreciation by buying it. Another great reason to buy photo books would be to overcome a creative block or to find more inspiration. To take an example, when I bought Kyosei Yoshike's work, I was often only having the possibility to photograph at night, and I was not very sure of what to shoot and not feeling very inspired. After going through his book, I was out and I decided as an exercise to do some similar shots. Another reason would be the pleasure that it can provide you. The pleasure does not come only from reading them, which is quite obvious, but also showing them to your friends when they visit, looking at your collection and seeing something that represents who you are as a person. But in my case, it's true that nothing beats the pleasure of having a cold beer and looking at the books. Another strong reason to buy photography books is that it will help you develop your own aesthetic taste in that domain. This is good because it will help you be more critical towards your own work and the one from others, but it will also allow you to take more pleasure in experimenting different artworks, because your taste will be more sophisticated. Another reason to buy photo books, and perhaps the one that motivates me the most, is simply to create an art collection. As an aesthete that appreciates art, it can sometimes be very frustrating not to have enough money to build a strong collection. With photo books, you can do so. Of course, some books, like first editions, can cost thousands of francs. You can find some limited edition of very strong books by artists that are still quite unknown for the price of 2 cocktails. Those are the kind of books that I will be looking to purchase in 2025. For anyone that does some research and that accepts to spend some money on it, they can build quite a strong collection that will represent who they are as a person. So I would strongly encourage you to start building your collection. The last reason, and I agree it's quite a weak one, but it's the fact that books can be beautiful decorative objects. I really don't like the term coffee table books, but it's true that a nice book disposed on a coffee table can provide some pleasure when you look at it. And it's also true that a well-filled bookshelf looks nice. And I'm not sure if you agree, but I think that this zine does a quite good decorative object as well. See the yellow, the blue, how it sits on the table? I think it looks quite nice. And you have not yet seen the images inside. So if you have liked this video, don't hesitate to purchase the books I talked about, but you can also purchase my zine if you want to support me. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you don't do it, you should at least like this video and subscribe. See you next time.